Γεια σας, είμαι ο Γιώργος Σαββίδης και ακούτε το podcast «Όλα είναι δρόμος». Μία εκπομπή για όλους εμάς τους ερασιτέχνες δρομής. Γεια χαρά φίλοι μου. Σιγά σιγά ζεσταίνονται οι μηχανές μας και το επόμενο διάστημα ως ήθιστε λόγω άνοιξης αναμένεται αρκετά έντονο αγωνιστικά, αφού διεξάγονται και οι περισσότεροι αγώνες. Προπονητικά, πολλοί από εσάς είτε είστε σε φάση φορμαρίσματος, είτε στην κορύφωση της προετοιμασίας σας, εκεί που πάνω κάτω βρίσκομαι και εγώ ο ίδιος λόγω των αγωνιστικών μου υποχρεώσεων στο εγγύς μέλλον. Αναμένεται να συμμετάσχω σε κάμπους αγώνες, μόλις 2 εξ αυτών αγώνες στόχοι και οι υπόλοιποι καθαρά προπονητικά και μόνο για τη χαρά της συμμετοχής και απλά για να βρεθώ από κοντά με ακόμα περισσότερους δρομείς. Έχω πει και ήδη ξέρετε πως από τις 29 Μαρτίου θα βρίσκομαι στην Κύπρο για τον αγώνα της Κυριακής στις 31 Μαρτίου στην Αγία Νάπα, όπου θα τρέξουμε παρέα για καλό σκοπό σε έναν αγώνα του οποίου όλα τα έσοδα θα πάνε στα παιδιά με αυτισμό. Στις 6 με 7 Απριλίου, σε έναν ξεχωριστό και μοναδικό ούλτρα αγώνα στο αυτοκινητοδρόμιο των Σερών, θα τρέξω εγώ τον αγώνα των 6 ωρών, ενώ παράλληλα υπάρχουν και οι αγώνες των 12, 24 και 48 ωρών. Ο αγώνας αυτός αποτελεί τον πρώτο μου στόχο για φέτος, ενώ έπειτα αυτός στις 9 Ιουνίου στη Νότια Αφρική, εκεί όπου θα συμμετάσχω στον μεγαλύτερο σε συμμετοχές ούλτρα αγώνα του κόσμου, απόστασης 87 χιλιόμετρων, τον Comrades Marathon. Θα είμαι ο δεύτερος Έλληνας που τρέχει σε αυτόν τον αγώνα, ανυπομονώ πολύ για αυτή την εμπειρία και να είστε σίγουροι ότι θα σας μεταφέρω μέσω ενός επεισοδίου όσα περισσότερα μπορώ από αυτή την εμπειρία που θα ζήσω. Επίσης, έχω να σας ανακοινώσω και μαθαίνετε πρώτοι από εδώ μέσα κάτι που αφορά τον μαραθώνιο της Θεσσαλονίκης στις 21 Απριλίου. Πρώτον, έχει να κάνει με την απόφασή μου να κινηθώ σε αυτόν τον αγώνα σε προπονητικούς ρυθμούς και θα είμαι pacer για όλους εσάς που θέλετε να σπάσετε το φράγμα των 4 ωρών. Σε μια διαδρομή λοιπόν που ενδείκνυται για ρεκόρ, θα είμαι δίπλα σε εσάς που θέλετε να σπάσετε το πρώτο μεγάλο φράγμα, το πρώτο μεγάλο εμπόδιο που έχει κάθε μαραθωνοδρόμος και είναι αυτό των 4 ωρών. Δεύτερον, την σκέψη μου αυτή τη μετέφερα με προσωπική επαφή στη διοργάνωση του μαραθώνιου Μέγας Αλέξανδρος και από τη συνάντηση βγήκε και αποφασίστηκε πως για πρώτη φορά στον αγώνα αυτό θα έχει pacers για ακόμα περισσότερα χρονικά όρια πέραν του 4ωρου που έχω εγώ σκοπό να κάνω. Εκεί στην Μπέλα, εκεί στην εκκίνηση του αγώνα θα μπορέσετε όσοι θέλετε να ξεκινήσετε με pacers και να πάτε μέχρι τον τερματισμό και φυσικά μαζί μου όσοι θέλετε να σπάσετε τις 4 ώρες αφού θα κινηθούμε με ρυθμό 5.35 με 5.40. Πραγματικά θέλω πολύ να βοηθήσω όσους περισσότερους γίνεται να τα καταφέρουν και θα είναι μεγάλη μου χαρά και τιμή να τρέξουμε παρέα σε όλη τη διαδρομή. Επίσημες ανακοινώσεις θα γίνουν από τη διοργάνωση του αγώνα εν ευθέτω χρόνο. Στην εν λόγω διοργάνωση μάλιστα την προηγούμενη μέρα το Σάββατο ή και την Παρασκευή, θα δούμε πώς θα γίνει ακριβώς γιατί είναι ακόμα νωρίς, θα βρίσκομαι στο χώρο παραλαβής της σακούλας του αγώνα, στο περίπτερο της Sportbook, όπου θα παρουσιάσω το βιβλίο μου και θα χαρώ πολύ να σας δω εκεί από κοντά. Λεπτομέρειες και για αυτό θα σας δώσω εκείνες τις μέρες. Στα άσχημα νέα του επεισοδίου αυτού, δυστυχώς η τύχη δεν μου έκανε τη χάρη και δεν κληρώθηκα για να συμμετάσχω στο Σπάρταθλον του 2024. Σε έναν ελληνικό αγώνα με μεγάλη ιστορία, δυστυχώς από τους 400 συμμετέχοντες θα είναι μόλις 50 Έλληνες, εκ των οποίων οι 10 πέρασαν απευθείας και οι υπόλοιποι 40 από την κλήρωση που συμμετείχα και εγώ. 160 μπήκαμε στην κληρωτίδα με κάποιους να έχουν διπλό κλήρο, οπότε με μόλις 20% πιθανότητες ήταν λιγάκι δύσκολο να κληρωθώ. Τα συμπεράσματα δικά σας, αλλά προσωπικά μπορεί να στεναχωρέθηκα. Δεν πτωούμε όμως, διότι κάθε δυσκολία είναι για καλό, οπότε πάμε γερά για του χρόνου στη νέα κλήρωση με διπλό κλήρο και αν όλα πάνε καλά και επειδή πείσμωσα μπορεί να δοκιμάσω να κάνω και κάτι πιο extreme για αυτόν τον αγώνα. Αυτά με τις ανακοινώσεις, πάμε στο σημερινό επεισόδιο όπου πραγματικά είχα την τιμή να κάνω αυτό το podcast με τον θρύλο των υπεραποστάσεων, Ελληνοαμερικανό Dean Karnazes ή Κωνσταντίνο Καρνάζη. Ποιος δεν έχει διαβάσει κάποια από τα βιβλία του και ποιον δεν έχει εμπνεύσει με τα απίστευτα επιτεύγματά του, όχι μόνο στην Ελλάδα, αλλά και σε ολόκληρο τον κόσμο. Τον έχω ακούσει πολλές φορές να μιλάει σε διάφορες εκπομπές και shows σε όλο τον κόσμο και αυτό που μου κάνει εντύπωση είναι η μεγάλη του αγάπη για την Ελλάδα και ότι ποτέ δεν έπαψε να λέει και να επαναλαμβάνει πως νιώθει και είναι 100% Έλληνας. Μάλιστα, μόλις πριν μία εβδομάδα από αυτό εδώ το podcast, σε ένα ιρλανδικό δρομικό podcast παγκόσμιου βεληνικούς, καμάρωνε λέγοντας πως νιώθει 100% Έλληνας, προβάλλοντας και εξηγώντας την ιστορία και την αυθεντικότητα του μαραθώνιου δρόμου, αλλά και τις ομορφιές της Ελλάδας. Είναι τιμή μας, άνθρωποι τέτοιου βεληνικούς, να είναι Έλληνες και να μεταδίδουν με τη λάμψη και το ήθος τους το ελληνικό πνεύμα, πολιτισμό και ιδεώδες σε όλο τον κόσμο. Πάμε λοιπόν να ακούσουμε τον Dean Karnazes, τι ενδιαφέροντα πράγματα έχει να μας πει και κλείνοντας θα ήθελα να ευχηθώ σε όλους σας χρόνια πολλά για την εθνική μας εορτή της 25ης Μαρτίου. Μέχρι την επόμενη φορά να είμαστε καλά, να είμαστε υγιείς και να κάνουμε πάντα αυτό που αγαπάμε και αυτό που μας κάνει να νιώθουμε καλά.
Όλα είναι δρόμος. Το podcast που μας ενώνει.
Σημερινός μου καλεσμένος είναι ο δρομέας, υπερμαραθωνοδρόμος, επιχειρηματίας και συγγραφέας, ο Ελληνοαμερικανός Κωνσταντίνος Καρνάζης ή αλλιώς Ultra Marathon Man. Ο Dean Karnazes έχει χαρακτηριστεί από το περιοδικό ΤΙΜΕ ένας από τους 100 πιο επιδραστικούς ανθρώπους στον κόσμο και έχει αγωνιστεί σε κάποιους από τους σημαντικότερους αγώνες σε ολόκληρο τον κόσμο. Ο Ελληνοαμερικανός θρύλος των υπεραποστάσεων και συγγραφέας παγκόσμιων μπεστ σέλερ έχει σπρώξει το σώμα και το πνεύμα του σε αδιανόητα όρια. Το 2006 έτρεξε 50 μαραθώνιους σε 50 πολιτείες των ΗΠΑ σε 50 συνεχόμενες μέρες. Έχει κερδίσει το παγκόσμιο πρωτάθλημα υπερμαραθωνίου 2 φορές, το 2005 και το 2008. Έτρεξε 4.800 χιλιόμετρα σε 75 μέρες από το Λος Αντζελες στη Νέα Υόρκη, τρέχοντας κάθε μέρα περίπου 80 χιλιόμετρα. Το 2004 διένυσε 238 χιλιόμετρα σε 24 ώρες σε κυλιόμενο διάδρομο και έχει τρέξει συνεχόμενα 563 χιλιόμετρα, απόσταση που ισοδυναμεί με περισσότερους από 13 μαραθώνιους χωρίς ύπνο σε 3 ημέρες. Επίσης η λίστα συνεχίζεται, αφού από τα επιτεύγματά του ως διεθνώς αναγνωρισμένου αθλητή αγώνων υπεραντοχής εντυπωσιάζουν και ξεχωρίζουν η συμμετοχή του σε αγώνες δρόμου και στις 7 ηπείρους, ο τερματισμός του στον υπερμαραθώνιο 217 χιλιόμετρων της κοιλάδας του θανάτου υπό θερμοκρασίες που άγγιζαν τους 50 βαθμούς Κελσίου, αγώνα που το 2004 τον κέρδισε, και η ολοκλήρωση ενός μαραθωνίου στο Νότιο Πόλο σε θερμοκρασία 40 βαθμών υπό το 0. Η δημοφιλία του Καρνάζη στη ΣΥΠΑ αποτυπώνεται και από το γεγονός ότι επί προεδρίας Ομπάμα, η Μισελ Ομπάμα τον είχε καλέσει στο Λευκό Οίκο το 2011 στο πλαίσιο μιας ενέργειας ώστε να δραστηριοποιούνται περισσότερο τα μικρά παιδιά για να αποφύγουν ένα από τα μεγαλύτερα προβλήματα στη χώρα, την παχυσαρκία. Έχει πάρει αμέτρητα βραβεία, ενώ έχει γράψει και βιβλία για την εμπειρία του μέσα από τους υπερμαραθώνιους. Τα βιβλία του συμπεριλαμβάνονται στις λίστες των New York Times, ενώ ο υπερμαραθωνοδρόμος ήταν το 7ο σε πωλήσεις αθλητικό βιβλίο παγκοσμίως το 2005 και έχει μεταφραστεί σε δεκάδες γλώσσες. Με τον Dean Karnazes θα έχουμε μια ενδιαφέρουσα συζήτηση, αφού θα αναφερθούμε σε στιγμές της πλούσιας αθλητικής του καριέρας, στο συγγραφικό του έργο και πόσο αυτό έχει επηρεάσει τους δρομείς σε όλο τον κόσμο. Θα μας μιλήσει για τη διατροφή του και την ενδυνάμωση, αλλά και για άλλα εξίσου ενδιαφέροντα θέματα, τόσο γύρω από την προσωπική του ζωή, όσο και από την Ελλάδα γενικότερα. On this week's podcast interview, it's privileged to be joined by Dean Karnazes. He is probably the man who has brought ultra running into Main Street, and he is also known as the ultra marathon man. Hello Dean, how are you doing today?
Πολύ καλά. Εσύ?
Είμαι πολύ καλά και είμαι πολύ χαρούμενος που σε έχω στο podcast. I'm so glad. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm honored to be on your podcast, and I'm more honored to be saying that I'm doing the interview from Athens, Greece, where I now live.
Oh, really? And personally, I'm honored having you as a guest in my podcast. And you are currently located in Athens?
Nay, I moved to the northern suburbs near Mount Penteli in September.
Oh, this is great news. And I hope next time I will be in Athens, we can have a coffee together. or even a run together.
A run, that's much better. Nah. I'll eat coffee. We run instead.
Dean, normally, and what I usually do is to give the floor to my guest by explaining us who is he and what he does, so the audience will be more familiar with him. But this time, things are a little bit different. Okay, because my guest is Dean Karnazes or Kωνσταντίνος Καρνάζης, and only by mentioning your name, we all know who you are. In fact, I could say I need a whole episode only mentioning all the great achievements you have succeeded in all these years of the extraordinary career. But not only to me, you are the legend and most well-known ultramarathoner around the globe, and we all feel so proud of you because you never stop saying to the whole world about your origins and that you are a Greek.
I am very proud of my accomplishments and my achievements, but I am more proud that I am Greek. And I mean that because I have studied ancient history, the classics, and I know where we come from, and I know how we have influenced not just athletics and the marathon and ultramarathon, but all of Western civilization, the culture. The Greeks laid the foundation for all of this, and the marathon and the ultramarathon began here in Greece. And I give a lot of talks at marathons across the world, and I have a presentation about the origins of the marathon and ultramarathon, starting with, and I know, it's the Spartathlon course, when the foot messenger Philippides ran from Athena to Sparti, and then to marathon, and then of course the final run from marathon to Athens. And people can't believe the history of the marathon, and I want to shake them because so many people across the globe don't even know that the marathon is from Greece.
Yes, this is true. Yes.
And it makes me mad as a Greek. I want everyone to know this because when they learn, it makes them very happy. And I want to keep promoting that Greece is the birthplace of the marathon, and the word marathon is a Greek word. It's in our soul, it's in our blood, it's in our tears, our sweat, and everything else.
Dean, maybe you don't remember, but we met each other in the Athens Marathon Expo, and I took some pictures. But what I really liked, it was the T-shirt you were wearing with the image of the Temple of Parthenon, if I am not wrong, and the Greek flag, something like this. Is it correct?
That is correct. Yes, nay. You have a good memory.
Yeah,
Nay.
and
Bravo.
and also just to let you know that one of my favorite pics I've seen on social media, on your social media, is you waving a Greek flag. It's an amazing picture.
Oh, I am nay. Thank you.
Okay, shall we continue in Greek or in English?
I think on the next show, my Greek will be better. I'm taking lessons, and every day I'm getting better. But right now, I think the conversation is better in English. On the next Athens Marathon this year in November, I'll speak to you in Greek.
Okay, this is great news. Thank you. Dean, where are your parents from, and how often do you visit Greece? Okay, now you are currently in Greece, but how often do you visit Greece in the past?
Yeah, I first came to Greece in 2013, and it was a Greek tragedy to me because I had traveled all over the world, but I'd never been to Greece. And part of the problem is that when I was a young boy in Los Angeles, I said to my yaya, "Yaya, I want to go to Greece. I want to see Greece, where we are from." And she said to me, "Oh, Ohi, Costa, Greece is everyone is poor and it's dirty," because she left at a time when Greece was suffering much hardship. And I thought I don't want to go to Greece and see Greece in this dirty and poor condition because I think so highly of Greece. And when my friend Peter Poulos finally said, "You're coming with me to Greece. Put your stuff in a bag, and I'm taking you, and you can see for yourself." And when I arrived in Greece in 2013, I've been in love with this country. I can't have enough of Greece. I come every year, 3 or 4 times, and every time I come to Greece, I would get back on the plane to fly back to the United States, and I would cry as I looked out the window every time. And I thought, you belong here. Why keep doing this to yourself? And that's why I finally moved to Greece. My father, his family, my grandfather is from a village near Tripoli called Silimna. It's about 10 kilometers from Tripoli up in the mountains. And Mitera is from the island of Ikaria, where they live forever.
So, Dean, personally, I have read all your books, at least the ones that I know that and have been published here in Greece. How many books did you write?
I've written 5 books total, and I've been a co-author on 2 books, and just 3 of them are available in Greek. The others are not in publication in the Greek language.
Okay, the first one, the Ultra Marathon Man, motivated me so much that I started running ultra marathons. And, I would also say, and I'm sure you know this, that you have the unique ability to be able to touch the lives of others through your adventures and inspire them to do something amazing. At least this is what I did, what happened to me.
And it changed your life, did it?
Yes, indeed.
Nay, and that's a gift that I passed along to you, and now you're passing the gift along to everyone who's listening, your audience, all of the people that are hearing this. You've influenced now, So I think that you took the torch I handed you and you ran with it.
Yes, this is true, Dean, yes. And in fact, I know that you have already said that there is a phrase you said, I love surfing, rock, climbing, cycling, all that stuff, but it's just amazing that I can inspire people with my running. It's humbling, really.
I mean, running is so simple. It's
Yeah.
it's not. It doesn't take a lot of coordination. You don't need special skills. You don't need to go to school. And so I think that it's universal across the globe. Wherever I go, people enjoy running with me because it's something we share together. There's so many things in the world that divide people. The language, the color of our skin, the God we worship. All of these things tear us apart. But running is something that is common, and it's a shared trait that all of humanity has. So I think that running has great power in that regard, even though it's such a simple thing to do.
Okay, Dean, the second book, the second one is my favorite one. And I can easily say that I fell in love with your book, The Road to Sparta. Because, okay, the audience knows that one of my dreams is to run the Spartathlon, which where I qualified last year. But I would highly recommend all the listeners to read this book. Well, not only this, but all of your books. But especially this one, as I said, is my favorite one, because you combine the Greek history with your adventure to run from Athens to Sparta.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it because I wrote it for an American audience. It's a bestseller in America, in the UK. It's very strong. It's held very strong in Italy, in Australia. But I always often thought, would a Greek understand this book, because it's the perspective of an outsider. It's not a Greek. I mean, I'm Greek, but I was raised in America. So the way I look at the Spartathlon is different than I think a Greek, and I hope you appreciate it. But I also think that any Greek that has the courage to run that race is to be commended. I mean, certainly we have our champions. Yannis Kouros is a big hero of mine, and now we have Dimitris. I mean, we have a lot of extraordinary Greek runners, but I also think that people that are in the middle of the pack, and even the people that are finishing right before 36 hours, it's something that they did that honors Greece.
Dean, as I told you before, I've been qualified for this race and I'm looking forward to being part of the upcoming race. Of course, if I'm lucky to be selected. But if this happens, for sure I will read it again just before the race. Yeah.
Well, I will see you. I hope you get selected, because I'm not going to run this year, but I'm going to attend to support the event. So I will be there.
Also, Dean, I was surprised because all these hours you described in the book, hours of running, your fuel loading was based in fruits and ingredients that the ancient Greeks would also find in a similar way. How did you come up with this idea to run in a similar way the ancient Greeks did?
I wanted to try to understand how the ancient Greeks could be on the same level as modern athletes. How 2,500 years ago a Greek man could run to Sparta from Athens in 36 hours. And I thought, he doesn't have energy bars, right? There's no gels. There's none of the modern athletic fuels and food that we have. So I wanted to try to recreate the conditions he had. Of course, my diet was one thing I could control in making it ancient. He Philippides would have run on a dirt road. We're running on a highway, as you know, most of the time, and the route to follow at the Spartathlon is very clear for us modern runners, but he would have had to navigate by himself, using the stars, using his his familiarity with the area. So I thought I can't make the road dirt. I can't not follow the course markings, but I can try the diet that he used to see if it was possible. And that's why I wanted to do it.
You said also that Philippidis, he would be running through the night with basic food items and no Gatorade. So,
No headlamp, no Garmin, right?
no sports drinks, no energy gels, just figs, olives, and cured meat.
Yeah.
And this story is sure to captivate and inspire whether you run great distances or not at all.
It's been a very popular book for runners, and I think it's because of the history. Because I think that when you learn the history of ultra marathoning, it gives deeper meaning to finishing an ultra marathon, because it's unlike any other sport. The Battle of Marathon was a historic turning point in humanity. It not only preserved Greece, but it helped foster democracy. So when you learn these things, you realize that when you're running an ultramarathon, it's really a significant achievement. It's not just a standard foot race. It has much greater history.
Dean, you wrote, I had set out to find Philippidis, and in the process, I found myself.
I found myself, and now I really find myself, because I'm back in Greece, and I like to think that I've been gone from Greece for over 100 years, because my grandfather walked from Tripoli to Piraeus, got on a boat for New York over 100 years ago, and now I've come back, and my parents are so happy. My family is so happy that I've returned to where we are from.
Όλα είναι δρόμος. Το podcast που μας ενώνει.
Okay, Dean, we all know your remarkable list of running accomplishments, including running an ultramarathon across Death Valley in 50 degrees heat, running to the South Pole in minus 40 degrees, and running 50 marathons in 50 states in 50 consecutive days, and in so many other races. But would you consider Spartathlon one of the greatest ultra races in the world?
It is, and it should be the number one greatest race, because it's where it all began. It's a very, very difficult race, not just because of the distance and the cut and the pretty strict cutoff times, but the heat. Last year was a record-setting cool year. It wasn't as zesty as normal, but usually when I've run it, the heat, the sun is very intense, and as well as some of the air quality. I write about this in the book. When you pass the refineries before Corinth, that breathing those fumes was very difficult for me. So I think that Spartathlon is one of the most difficult ultramarathons, but I think it is the most prestigious ultramarathon of any race. It has to be the most prestigious.
Okay, Dean. The third book, which I have recently read, is The Runner's High, My Life in Motion. Let's talk about your book, the latest one. Can you please give us a brief summary about your book and what inspired you to write this book?
I've been an ultramarathoner for over 30 years now, which is amazing. That I haven't had a job in 30 years. I've been an athlete, and most athletes, their career lasts 5 or 6 years at most. Maybe some athletes, their career might last 10 or 12 years, but I've been an ultramarathoner for over 30 years, and I wanted to write about how the sport of ultramarathoning has changed and how I have changed, both as an athlete, as a father, a husband, how the world has changed. I ran my first ultramarathon in 1992, and now the world is a very different place. There wasn't a smartphone in 1992. There was very little talk of climate change. Uh, and now, we know all of the issues we're facing, and I wanted to put it in a book and explain how running has held me together through all of this, all of the changes and everything else.
And what is your favorite part in the entire book? Which one is your favorite chapter? What is all about and why?
Well, I hope you found some humor. Did you find humor in the book?
Yes.
Did it make you? Yeah. I think that some of the situations that I've been in they're funny. Running to the White House. I don't know. I that was a good story. Running across the Silk Road through Uzbek, in Central Asia. So I think that those stories of being outside of the U.S. To me have the most appeal because you're in a different environment and just strange things happen. What's your favorite part of the book? Let me ask you.
It's the first section because the first section of this book says that endurance doesn't sleep. What do you mean by this?
It means I think it's a very Greek ethos that that we must persevere through everything. We must keep going, and there's no time to sleep. I mean, life is to be enjoyed. When life is over, we can sleep for a long time, and that's what I meant.
Of course, there are a lot of interesting things you can find in your latest book, but personally, I've picked some quotes from the book that spoke to me. Would you like to comment on each of these quotes?
Yeah, tell me your favorites.
I picked 4 quotes. The first one is running an ultra is simple. All you have to do is not stop.
I like that. Yeah, I think that it's true. But it's not easy, is it?
It sounds easy. The second one is I didn't run to live longer. I ran to live fuller.
I I think an ultra marathon it kills us a little bit, but it also gives us life. You see the runners at the Spartathlon. They're exhausted. They're killing themselves. They're tired. But when they get to the finish and they touch those bronze feet, it's all worthwhile. It brings you such strong life that you would never have if you never did an ultra marathon.
And the last one from this book is beating others was never a primary motivation.
Yeah, there's a quote, another quote I have, and that's that who runs for pleasure, or he who runs for pleasure never tires. So I think that people that are very competitive, they have a hard time when they're no longer on the podium. To be on the podium for 30 years is impossible. So there has to be a time when you realize that running has got to be more than competition. You have to have maybe a desire to win and to be competitive, but more a love of the act of running itself, just a love for the adventure. And so I always just go into a race saying, I'm going to be the best I can be during this race. If I end up on the podium, that's fine. If I don't, that's fine. But I'm going to enjoy the experience. And I think that I love running as much now as I did when I first started. And this is the reason.
Okay, Dean, since I mentioned the quotes, here are some of your famous quotes, and I would like you to comment on these. Well, if someone searches on internet, he can find a lot of interesting things you have said, but personally, I picked up some of them. You've said, I've raced on all 7 continents at least twice. I've probably run thousands of races, but the single race that I'm most proud is a 10K. Yes, a 10K. I ran it with my daughter on her 10th birthday.
Yes, I mean, my daughter Alexandria, I have a very strong relationship with her, and she's a beautiful girl. She's half Greek, and she loves being Greek. And she came to me on her 10th birthday and said, "I want to run a race, this 10K with you, Dad." And I ran the whole way with tears in my eyes. But it was, I mean, being a parent is a gift as well.
Amazing. Dean, you've said something that I'm pretty sure applies to all runners. I think I have some of my clearest thoughts when I'm out running.
Huh. I know I do, and I think that most runners do, and I think that's part of the appeal. I don't know, a lot of runners listen to music, or I hope they listen to podcasts, like, and I'm sure I know they do, but I think sometimes just to go out and be in nature by yourself let you think, because during a normal day, especially a work day, we don't have much time to think. We're just react to events throughout the day, and when you run, it's just you and your thoughts.
I have another two quotes, Dean. The third one I have chosen is, any goal worth achieving involves an element of risk.
Yeah, I think that I've had my share of DNFs. It hasn't been many, but I know that there's no guarantee during an ultra marathon that you're going to make it. So you put so much time and energy into it. I mean, think about how much you've thought about the Spartathlon, and how much effort you've put into it, and how much training. Uh, it's risky though, because you might not finish, and a lot of people are so afraid of a failure they don't try. And that's why I like anyone who signs up and tries to do the Spartathlon. At least they had the courage to try. So I think that quote speaks to what I just said.
And the fourth one, the last quote, it's, if you just go out there and run 100 miles, it breaks down a lot of barriers in terms of self-imposed limitations.
I think that most people, when they hear about someone running even 100 kilometers, they think it might be over 3 or 4 days. They might be camping at night. And when you say, no, you just run for, 8 or 9 or 10 or 24 hours without stopping, they can't believe it. And the first time I heard about an ultra marathon, I couldn't believe it. I thought, oh, no, they're getting in cars, or they're riding bicycles. They can't. No one can run like that. And then when you do it, you prove to yourself that you just did something you thought was impossible. And that carries over from running to many things in life. To businesses, to me, writing a book I thought would be impossible because it's such a long process. But once I did it, I proved to myself, you can do it. And then there's been more books after that.
I would like to encourage all our listeners to read all Karnazes' books. And I'm sure that they will realize that it's hard to put down a Karnazes book without walking away inspired or wanting to lace up the running shoes to head out. Here I would like also to mention that your books have been published in Greece by Key Books. Is that correct?
Key Books, yes.
Yeah.
They're based in Athens. I'm good friends with the team at Key Books, and I like supporting Greek companies. I didn't want to use my American publisher in Greece because I want the revenue from the books to go back to a Greek company, to stay here in Greece.
Ακούτε το podcast «Όλα είναι δρόμος» με τον Γιώργο Σαββίδη. Τρέχουμε παρέα.
Okay, now Dean, let's move to another subject, because I'm sure a lot of people would like to ask you a lot of things. But I don't remember, did I ask you when to describe us when all started or not? No, I think I didn't.
No.
So
no.
I want to get back to where all started for people who don't know the story, and going back years ago to your 30th birthday. I know the story, but can you please tell us how and when did you become a runner? Okay, I know there is a funny story behind this question, and the audience would love to listen it.
Well, I mean, I'll start by saying that when I was a young boy, when I was 5 and 6 years old, I used to love to run, and I ran until I was a teenager, until I was 15. And then I stopped running when I was 15. My cross country team won the championships, and I thought, I'm done with running, no more running, and I stopped running. And then after high school, I went to university, and then I went to business school, and I received an MBA. And I had a very comfortable life in San Francisco. I had a nice paycheck, stock options, a company car, free healthcare. And on the night of my 30th birthday, I went to a club, a nightclub, a bar, with my friends, because in America and in Greece, on your 30th birthday, there's a celebration where you get very drunk. You drink a lot. So I was in a bar in San Francisco with my friends, and we were drinking. And at midnight, I said, I'm going to leave now. And they said, well, Yati, why? It's your birthday. Let's have more tequila to celebrate. And I said to them, no, I'm going to run 30 miles to celebrate my birthday instead. And they said, you're crazy. You're not a runner. You're drunk. And I said to them, I know I'm drunk, but I still need to do this. And so I walked out of the nightclub, and I didn't own running gear. I had no running gear, but I had these silk boxer shorts, underwear. So I took off my pants, and I threw them down the alleyway, and I started running. It's something I hadn't done in 15 years. And I ran south. I knew that if I ran south from San Francisco, there was a city called Half Moon Bay that was 30 miles away. And I said, just put your sights on Half Moon Bay. And about, 30 miles is nearly 50 kilometers. And about halfway to Half Moon Bay, I thought I was going to stop, because it hurt me so much. But then I looked up, and it was 3 a.m, and I saw the stars, and I saw the heavens, and God spoke to me in a funny way. I felt like I was put on earth to be doing what I was doing, to be running all night. I felt this so strongly, so I kept going, and I made it to Half Moon Bay the next morning. I mean, it took me almost 10 hours. But it changed my life forever. I said at that point, I don't want to be a businessman anymore. I want to be a runner. And that was, over 30 years ago.
An amazing story. Dean, how is your daily routine?
Well, from the moment I get out of bed in the morning until I go back to bed at night, I never sit down. So even right now, as we're doing the interview, I'm standing up, and I'm walking around. I write all my books with a desk that's made for standing up. So I'm standing up when I write my books. And then throughout the day, I've been doing, it's called HIIT training, high intensity interval training. So it's sets of push-ups and pull-ups and sit-ups and dips and like jumping lunges and burpees. And the routine I do is it works your entire body, all the muscles in your body, and it takes about uh, 15 minutes. And I do this routine throughout the day. I might do 5 or 6 rounds of this. So I'm always moving, and this is in between running. So today I was doing what I told you, and I went for a 2-hour run on Mount Pantele, a trail run in between, and that's how my daily routine is. I'm always moving. I'm never sitting down. Always in a state of motion and activity.
You have just said it, but I'm also surprised because I know this. I've read it, and you said that you avoid sitting on a chair or on a couch, and you don't sit at all during the day. Sitting to you is the devil.
It's like smoking to me. Sitting is like smoking. It's bad. It's εκατό. Ναι, ναι.
I know you have a great dietary motto. Real food forms the basis of my diet. If it comes from a plant, I eat it. If it's made in a plant, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I follow a Mediterranean diet, but an ancient Mediterranean diet. So, I say if I can't pick it from a tree or dig it up with my hands or catch it with my hands, I don't eat it. So I try to avoid any type of food that has to be processed or refined. You know, you can't put a piece of bread in, you can't pick a piece of bread from a field because wheat, you know, I don't think we were made to eat wheat because you can't put it, you can't eat it unless it goes through a machine and is ground and processed. So I try to eat natural foods from the land, and the food in Greece is it is so much better than the food in America. The food in America has no flavor. The food in Greece is amazing. It's fantastic. So I go to the farmer's market. You know, I buy the foods I just explained, and I feel like I have energy, consistent energy throughout the day. I don't ever have big spikes in my blood sugar or dips. And I really think that if we can go back to a more ancient Greek diet, we'd live healthier, longer lives.
And Dean, how important do you think is nutrition for runners?
I think it's crucial. I think that nutrition, training, cross training, and sleep are the foundations of making a good runner. And trying to optimize all of those should be the goal of every runner. Look at your choices through the eyes of trying to be the best animal that you can be. So think of yourself as I'm an animal. I'm a runner. Is getting 5 hours of sleep good or bad for this animal? And I would say it's bad. You need to get more sleep. You know, is eating junk food good for this animal? No. If an animal eats junk food, it gets fat and lazy. So these are the kind of things that I follow, the kind of principles that I follow.
And do you also follow a specific nutrition plan before important races?
Not so much. I try not to change my diet too much before a race. What I do is I cut back on fibrous foods, you know, foods that have a lot of fiber, which fiber is good because it helps you stay regular. But when you're running an ultra marathon, you don't want to have, you know, a lot of movements along the way. So I try to cut back on the fiber I eat. But other than that, I keep the same diet. I don't load in carbos. I don't eat more calories before a race. I have the same diet as I have normally.
And what about coffee? Are you a big fan?
I'm a big fan of coffee. Nay.
I've seen a post on Instagram where you add fresh rosemary to the grounds before brewing it. Is it correct?
Nay, I do. I do. And I do that more here in Greece. I've tried oregano as well, or oregani,
Yeah.
and it's not as good. The rosemary is better.
Dean, do you consider the strength training as vital for marathon and ultramarathon runners?
I think for longevity, it is crucial. I think that when you're younger, you can get away with not having as much upper body strength. But I think that if you want to last, especially as long as I've lasted, you have to do more than just run. You really have to strengthen your leg muscles and all of the physiology that supports your running. I mean, we run with our legs, but all of our body's involved. You know, our core is involved, our arms are involved. So you need these to be strong as well.
Dean, does strength training improve the running performance as well?
For me, it does. You know, a lot of runners look at me and they say, you're so muscular for a runner. I might have too much muscle to be. I might be faster if I had less muscle, but I don't think I would. You know, I think I would have more injuries, and I don't think I would be able to do these longer. You know, these really long runs, like 2, 3, or 400 kilometers.
And can you give us some tips for strength training?
Yeah, you can use body weight. You don't need to go to a gym to do strength training. So simple push-ups are great for strength training. Just regular sit-ups, just a regular sit-up. You can change. You know, you can learn about new techniques for sit-ups. I mean, if you go on online, you just Google, you know, sit-ups. There's a lot of variations, but just these simple exercises throughout the day. Pull-ups. I mean, you know, most runners can't do one pull-up, and I typically do sets of 15 or 20 pull-ups at a time. So try these things and maintain consistency. Try to do it at least. Try to do at least 5 days a week. And I prefer working out throughout the entire day. I don't like thinking I'm going to go to the gym for an hour and I'll be done with my workout. I think that's the wrong approach. I think a better approach is, again, to look at yourself as an animal. An animal doesn't say, I'm going to go to the gym for an hour. Then an animal's constantly chasing when they want to chase. They're always active. So try body weight exercises. Even just Google a jumping lunge and do 10 jumping lunges and see how your legs burn. And there's no weight. It's just your body weight. So there's no fancy equipment. If you're watching television, just say during the commercials, I'm going to do jumping lunges and do jumping lunges for a minute or two. So that's what I recommend. And, if you like going to a gym, go to a gym, but you don't need to go to a gym to get strength.
And do you ever get injured?
I don't want to say I have never been injured because I'll probably, walk up the stairs and break my leg. But yeah, no, I've never had an injury. In over 30 years of ultra running, I've never had an injury.
And I've read it. Next question, and it's amazing. And I would like to ask you, how much is the percentage of your body fat?
It's pretty low.
It's
It's
pretty low, yeah.
nay. It's well, you saw me at the marathon. I mean, it's around
Yes.
3.5, maybe 4%.
And lowering your body fat percentage can help you achieve your best run time.
I don't know. I think that I'm not sure. I don't know if I had more body fat because I think that fat is a fuel, and fat is a very it's not an efficient fuel, but it has a lot of longevity fat. It's a high lasting, a long lasting fuel. So I know during an ultra marathon, you're burning a lot of fat, and I've often wondered if I had more body fat, would that help me? I don't know, but I can't, given how much I exercise and how much of the diet I eat is so healthy, it's hard for me to gain body fat. And I do eat a lot. I eat a lot of fat in my diet. I mean, I eat a lot of olives, a lot of olive oil, a lot of nut butters like almond butter, avocado, cheese. So I eat fat, but I can't keep the fat on my body.
Dean, why are ultramarathons so special, and what is that makes you run long distances?
I think it's an escape from the ordinary. To go out and run on a trail all night is such an unusual experience in this day and age. Running a 24-hour run, a trail run, you watch the sunrise. You see the sun pass through the sky all day. You watch the sunset. You watch the moon rise. You watch the moon set, and you see the sunrise the next day. And I mean, very few people are ever outside for the whole cycle of a day. They're usually in their house, asleep, or someplace else. But when you're running an ultra marathon, you're out in nature, and I think there's something elemental to being a human that you connect with during a race like that. I also think that an ultra marathon is difficult. It's I think there's so many things in our life now that come easy, right? I mean, we get in a car, we drive somewhere, we go to the grocery store, we get food. An ultra marathon is something really difficult. It's painful and it's challenging. And I think a lot of people, especially ultra marathoners like us, we're drawn to challenges like this. It makes us feel alive, and that's why we do it.
Dean, you mentioned before when talking about the strength training, the consistency. So I would like to ask you, is consistency important, and can this improve you as a runner?
I think consistency is everything. I mean, we're I'm trying to think of it. I think it was Aristotle that said, we're the sum of our habits. So having good habits, exercise habits, make us who we are. And how do you develop good habits? Well, you consistently work out. You consistently do what you need to do. So I think that it's really critical that you have the consistency and the discipline to get up every day and do the hard work.
Do you think that running is part of who we are as humans?
I think absolutely. I think, yeah.
And, and what has been your most challenging race to date?
I think that running, I ran one time 50 marathons in all of the 50 United States in 50 days, consecutive days. And I think that was probably the most challenging because it just lasted so long. I mean, with a really difficult ultramarathon like the Spartathlon, you can kind of know that the finish is coming. It's a day. It's 1.5 days, so that's how long it's going to last. So when you're tired, it's not going to last forever. When I was running 50 marathons in a row, there were days when I felt like I couldn't even get out of bed, and I still had 30 marathons to run. It just seemed so psychologically overwhelming. I still think that was my most difficult endeavor.
Do you ever wonder if we really have limits?
I think that we do have limits, but I think that they're in our head. I think we are our own worst enemy.
And what motivates Dean Karnazes to keep running?
I think because I'll never be a master of it. I'll never be as good as I want to be. It's something it's something I can always improve upon. And as I'm getting older, uh, it's just as challenging. Yeah, I'm not trying to win races now, but I'm trying to get to the finish line, and it's still a great challenge for me. So I think that's what keeps me going.
Dean, you have just mentioned this, but in your new book, you are touching the element that you are getting old and you are not as fast as you used to be. How do you face the new reality?
It's not always easy. But it's taught me to be humble because I used to be able to run down trails so fast. I remember running down trails that I'm very cautious on now. Technical trails with lots of rocks and roots. I used to run down those trails without even thinking, and now I'm having to pay attention. Uh, I see my times in marathons getting slower and slower. So it's not always easy, but I just still love the challenge of being able to race and to run and to get to the finish line.
Όλα είναι δρόμος.gr, το site που τρέχει μαζί σας.
Did you ever count or do you know how many marathons and ultramarathons have you run in your 30 years career?
I don't. But I have all of the medals. I have all my trophies and my medals, so I can count them one day. But I think I've run over 300 just regular marathons, not ultra marathons.
And did they ever ask you to sign a book or to give an autograph as you're racing?
Yes, mostly at aid stations. When I come into an ultra marathon to an aid station, people always have copies of my book they want me to sign. I mean, because I'm not thinking I'm ever going to be on the podium, I don't mind stopping to sign a book. I think that it's nice. It's nice.
What advice do you have for first-time marathon and ultramarathon runners?
Just set your goal on finishing. So success is not winning. It's not ending up on the podium. It's just finishing. So if you're going to run a 50K or 100K or 78K ultra for the first time, don't say I want to be. Don't have a time goal. Don't say I want to finish in 7 hours or 8 hours. Just say my goal is to reach the finish line. And once you do that, then in races beyond, in the future, you can try to be faster if that's what you want to do. But for the first one, just get to the finish line and get that medal around your neck.
And which is your favorite place to run?
I'll tell you my favorite country to run, and that's easy because I'm living here now. It's Greece, and there's a saying, it's always best in your own backyard. And I live in the northern suburbs of Athens, so I have Pantele right behind my house. So I go on trails up Pantele, and I love it. Every day I go on a different trail and I see different sights, and knowing the history, I know that the marble for the Parthenon and the Acropolis came from Penteli, and so I sometimes stand up at the top of the mountain and I look at Athens and I look at the Acropolis, and I can't imagine how they got these huge pieces of marble from the top of this mountain all the way uh, to downtown Athens 2,500 years ago. So right now, Penteli, I've run up Imathos many times. I like Imathos. I also like Parnatha, and these are close mountains in Athens. But right now, I'm loving Penteli, and on the weekend, this coming weekend, I'm going to run with my partner Joe Manta. We're going to try to run friends to marathon, all on trails. So we have a route that we've tried to figure out, and it's all on dirt. So we never will be on a road, and we'll run all the way to marathon.
Dean, you inspire a lot of people around the world, but who inspires you?
I think my biggest inspiration is my dad. He's a marathoner. My father's a marathoner. Nicholas, he's Nicholas Constantine, and I'm Constantine Nicholas. He inspires me because he's always supported me. He's always been there for me, and he's always been a great role model for me. He's always been a great friend, and I even today we have wonderful times together. So I think he's been my biggest inspiration. Looking back in history, you know, there's so many Greeks that I look up to and admire. Pythagoras, Sappho, Pericles, Aeschylus, I think you say. Oh, he fought at marathon, and his quotes are the best. Philippides, of course, the ancient foot messenger. Plato, Aristotle. I mean, I could go on and on and on about the ancient Greeks that inspire me. And they really do. They get me motivated to get out and experience Greece. And then some of our modern heroes. I mean, I still think that Yanis Kouros deserves to be known around the world. I mean, he what he did, what that man did was never done again. It was amazing. And outside of Greece, he's known in ultramarathoning circles, but he should be known worldwide as this incredible endurance athlete. So I look up to him. I mentioned my partner is a ultra marathoner by the name of Joe Manta, and she holds the currently the women's Spartathlon record. And we run together, and I can't keep up with her, but she always slows down for me. She's always humble, and she's a great champion. So I look up to her as well.
And since you mentioned Jo Mada, if I'm not wrong, recently she ran also in Death Valley, the Badwater, if I'm not wrong.
I was one of her crew members.
Yeah.
So she was so strong, and she had a very difficult race in the beginning. I mean, it's a 216 kilometer race, and about 30 kilometers from the start, she was very sick. She was throwing up, and her mind was delirious. And I thought she's going to DNF right away. And she somehow came back and passed, 40 or 50 or 60 runners, and finished in sixth place overall and the second place woman.
Amazing performance. Yeah. Since we mentioned this race, if I'm not wrong, you ran this race 10 times. You won it one time, if I'm not wrong.
That's correct. Yes. Nah.
And Dean, what makes you superhuman and what keeps you going?
I think that I'm just interested to see how long I can keep going. So I think one is passion that makes someone superhuman. I think it's curiosity, right? Being curious. Can I do this? Can I go there? Can I run further and faster? I think it's also humility, having no ego. I have no ego. I think ego is the worst thing, and it destroys people. So I don't have an ego. I try to keep an open mind to everything, and I think that's what's worked for me.
And Dean, what's next for you?
I've got a lot of plans. I probably am going to run here in Greece. I'm going to do a lot of running. So I'm working with a group called Action Hellas or Action Hellas, and they do programs in rural areas and poor islands of Greece, where they have doctors come in and provide services. And we're also doing 5K runs, mostly for the kids, to get the kids active. So we're going to be doing another trip. We did a trip in November to Parnatha, and I was a part of that. And I'm going to go in April as well. I want to run the Athens Half Marathon in April. I know I want to do Zagoti, the Zagoti Mountain Run this year. I've never done it. I've run in Zagoti, but I've never done the race. So I want to do the race in July. Uh, and there's other races I'm going to be doing in Greece, but I'm trying to spend as much time as I can this year in Greece and not race overseas. I've raced, all over around the world, but now I want to spend time racing in Greece.
Dean, do you want to say some things how you are helping everyday runners experience the magic and the legacy of running in Greece?
I mean, I'm using my social media to the best of my ability to try to give people a look at my life and inspire them and motivate and energize them to try their own adventures. And I think that, running where I live in California, there's runners everywhere. I mean, it's very common on the trails. In Greece, it's now it's growing. It's growing. It's growing. And Greece has the best running in the world. So I want to do more social media promotions. Maybe work with like National Geographic or someone to do some filming. But I want to show the magic of Greece to all of the world.
Okay, can you share more about your latest running project with launching Greek running tours, running in Greece?
Yes, I work very closely with the Ministry of Tourism for Greece because I want to help the Greek economy, but I want to attract tourists that are wealthy. They're tourists that are going to put a lot of money into the economy. They're tourists that are going to respect the environment, respect the people. And runners are really good tourists like this because they have high disposable income and they like exploring on foot. So I started a travel company, not so much for Greek people because the places we go to, like Athens and Hydra and Crete, ancient Olympia, the Greek people can go there anytime, but it's mostly for American travelers that want to experience Greece by running. So instead of taking a tour bus every day, there's a running route, and there are cultural experiences, Greek dancing, olive oil making, bread making along the way that gives them a taste of the Greek culture. So there's this gastronomy, it's running and exercise, it's history. Every night we stay at a very nice Greek hospitality hotel, a very nice luxury hotel, and there's massages at night. So it's luxury travel for people that appreciate Greece, and this is my latest business endeavor that I've launched.
Dean, last question for this podcast episode is why run a marathon?
If you're Greek, it is a rite of passage. If you're Greek, every Greek man and woman, I think, needs to run a marathon. It's who we are. And there's mandatory military service in Greece, which I so think is a really good idea. I think it should be a mandatory marathon as well. Everyone. I think that Mitsotakis, he's fit. He should run a marathon. He's the prime minister of Greece. He's the head. Can you imagine him running a marathon? He can do it, and it would show the whole world what it means to be Greek and to be in the place where the marathon was born. So I'm a big advocate, and I think I know a lot of people that are not runners. When I tell them you must run a marathon, they think, oh, that's crazy. I could never do this. But I think that's why you have to do it, because you think you can't do it. And once you do it, it'll change your life forever.
And Dean, in a few days, on 25th of March, the Greeks are celebrating their Independence Day. Do you want to wish or say something?
Well, I intend to be in Greece for the 25th, and I know the whole story. For the bicentennial, which was in 2021, I ran 10 marathons in 10 days in Messenia to historic battle places. I started in Aeropoli, where the revolution began. So I want to be part of the revolution, and I think freedom or death. I think we can change that to running or death, and we'll go out and do a good historic run on the 25th of March.
Dean, it's wonderful to have you. It's great for me, you to be a guest on this episode of the podcast. It's a long road. Thank you so much for coming on the call with us.
I parakalo. I think my only disappointment with this podcast interview is that I'm not speaking in Greek, and I'm ashamed. It is one of my biggest regrets that I don't speak fluent Greek. So on the next podcast you have me on, I want to do it in Greek, because it's something I can't call myself Greek until I can speak the language, and I'm committed to learning. It's a difficult language, but I'm going to learn.
Okay, you promised this, so next podcast episode with you, where we will do together, will be in Greek. Okay.
I might have some ouzo beforehand just to help, but
Dean, thank you so much.
I look forward to sharing some footsteps with you in Spartathlon when I see you there. Good luck.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you.
Κάντε δικά σας τα μοναδική σχεδίασης all over print δρομικά μπλουζάκια του podcast. Μεγαλώνουμε ακόμα περισσότερο την παρέα μας και δίνουμε χρώμα στις προπονήσεις και τους αγώνες μας. Παραγγείλτε τα μέσα από την ιστοσελίδα olainedromos.gr.
olainedromos.gr, το site που τρέχει μαζί σας.
Άλλο ένα podcast «Όλα είναι δρόμος» έφτασε στο τέλος του. Περιμένω τις δικές σας προτάσεις και ιδέες για επόμενα θέματα που θα θέλατε να συζητήσουμε. Σας ευχαριστώ πολύ που με ακούσατε. Κάντε follow για να λάβετε ειδοποίηση για το επόμενο επεισόδιο. Μέχρι την επόμενη φορά, να είστε όλοι καλά, υγιείς, να ευχαριστιέσετε τις προπονήσεις και τους αγώνες σας και να απολαμβάνετε την κάθε σας στιγμή. Ακολουθήστε με στο Spotify, στο Apple Podcasts, στο Google Podcasts ή όπου αλλού ακούτε podcasts.